New year, new books, 50 of them to be exact. Join me on this unboxing. I'm Rian, Christ-following wife and stay-at-home mom to 4 sweet boys. I'm growing and learning how to glorify Christ as a wife, mom, homemaker, and teacher, so come and grow and learn with me. I am Mama on Mission. So I said there was 50, and there are, but 2 of them haven't gotten here yet, but I've got to hurry up and get all of these filmed so that I can get them downstairs onto our shelves before our first day of school here in a couple of days. So I will not obviously be giving you a synopsis of each and every one of these books, but I will just show you what we got, and they all are going to be either for Sonlight Kindergarten or Sonlight Level E, History Bible Literature, which is what my 5th and 7th graders are doing this upcoming year. Now the 5th grader will be doing the 5th grade readers, but we already have those left over from my other son, so you will not see any of those in here, but you will see all of the Level E books and readers and read-alouds. First, we have Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright. I would assume this was for Level E, not sure. Something about a drought and an orphan, and sounds cute. The tagline is, "Do you believe in magic?" Then the classic Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. I read this for the first time actually a few years ago, and it was so good. Cannot wait for my 7th grader to read this. Another classic, Old Yeller. I read this a really long time ago. I don't remember when it was. And this first stack that I'm going through is all from Secondsale. If you guys haven't checked them out, you really should. All of these books were super inexpensive. Then we have the story of Harriet Tubman, Freedom Train. Now I have not read this specific one, I don't think. And I'm not sure if this is a read aloud or a reader for Level E. And then here is Shades of Grey by Carolyn Reeder. And I just finished a book not too long ago called Between Shades of Grey. And it was nothing to do with the 50 Shades of Grey, by the way. Every time I hear that, I'm like, ew. But it was another like concentration camp story, but from a perspective that you don't usually hear. So it's pretty cool. And then we have a couple of these this year, the Hidden Hero series. We've read one of them last year, I think it was. This is Lights in a Dark Place, True Stories of God at Work in Colombia by Rebecca Davis. This is By the Great Horn Spoon by Sid Fleischman. I've heard lots about this book, but we have never read it. If you can't tell, Level E is modern history, so from like the early 1800s to current times. This is In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson by Bet Bow Lord. Again, another one I've heard of, but never read. And this is King of the Mound, My Summer with Satchel Paige by Wes Took. And The Great Wheel by Robert Lawson. A lot of these are Newbery books. Now this is How to Eat a Poem. This will be one of our read-alouds. We usually have a poem book going at the same time as our actual novel that we're reading. This is The Great Turkey Walk by Kathleen Carr. And then for our Bible, we are doing the Case for Christ, Case for Faith, I think, and one other one. Sonlight was selling them all as one book, but I found them a lot cheaper by buying them separately, actually. So this is The Case for Christ for Kids by Lee Strobel. This is Anna Hibiscus. I've never read this, but this is for Sonlight K. And I think this is also Sonlight K. This feels like a brand new book, but it's used. The Adventures of South Pole Pig, a novel of snow and courage by Chris Kurtz. It says, Move over, Wilbur and Babe, there's a new pig in town. And then The Silver Balloon by Susan Bonners. I think that's also for Level K. And another classic. Somehow we didn't have this one. We have a lot of these books, but we don't have the first one. Boxcar Children. The first one is just The Boxcar Children by Gertrude Chandler Warner. We have a lot of those books, but not the first one. I don't understand that. This one I had never heard of. This is Just Dance by Patricia McLaughlin, but we're actually finishing up the Sarah Plain and Tall series right now, so we'll get to read more of her this year. And I'm pretty sure that's for kindergarten as well. Another kindergarten one, Roxy and the Hooligans by the author of Shiloh, Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. A Grain of Rice, also for kindergarten. And then we'll also be reading Richard Scarry's Please and Thank You book. I love Richard Scarry. It brings back good memories. My sister, who's 6 years younger than me, was obsessed with the Busy Town cartoon. And then the book Feelings by Aliki. This one looks kind of fun, obviously exploring feelings, but I liked some of the wording of like how to understand like what does ashamed mean, and they would use like sentences to describe what someone would say when they're ashamed. Thought that was interesting. And then The World According to Humphrey. When I go through and shop for all of these to try to get them secondhand instead of buying them new to save some money, it's like a half a day event for all three of my kiddos, and we'll be adding a fourth one here before we know it. But we saved like $390 doing it this way. So, I mean, half day's work, that's not too bad. Now there are 2 books that I had to buy directly from Sonlight because either I couldn't find them anywhere else or they weren't any cheaper anywhere else. And that was One Voice, the story of William Wilberforce by Amy Lykish, I think. So it's kind of like poetry style, but all about William Wilberforce. And then the landmark History of the American People, from Charleston to the Moon. So we finished the first one of these this past year when we did Modern History Part 1. It was from like the explorers to the early 1800s. And so I was surprised that I couldn't find this book used anywhere, but I couldn't anywhere. Now these next books my husband ordered because he is the king of eBay. I don't do eBay, I don't trust it. I don't know how it's any different than trusting thrift books or anything like that, but he went and found really inexpensive versions of these books for me. So we have Dolphin Adventure, One Diver's Incredible Undersea Experience. This is for kindergarten. We have Turn Homeward, Hannah Lee by Patricia Beatty. I had never heard of this one. It says, can Hannah Lee fulfill her parting promise to her mother? Also for kindergarten, A to Z Mysteries, The Missing Mummy. My boys never got into these books, so I'm interested to see if my kindergartner likes it. Also for my kindergartner, Game On in Ancient Greece, The Time Travel Guides by Linda Bailey and Bill Slavin. So this has a lot of good pictures in it, kind of comic book style. The person who sent that book, I love the wrapping, and I'm not being facetious. We used a Savorites box, so an Aldi cracker box. I'm like, hey, way to use your resources, right? Also from eBay, Scott Odell, Sing Down the Moon, another Newbery book. I've never even heard of this one. A Letter to Mrs. Roosevelt by Coco DeYoung. I don't know that I've read this one. I've heard of it, but I've never read it. And then we read this when my big kids were really little. We've got it from the library, but 3 Tales of My Father's Dragon. Then here's another one of those Lee Strobel books, Case for Faith for kids. And then we have Dolphin Treasure, also for kindergarten. And then we have a poem book from my kindergartner, The Llama Who Had No Pajama. We have Out of Darkness, the story of Louis Braille by Russell Friedman. And then a third Lee Strobel book, The Case for a Creator for kids. And then we have Bruchko, the astonishing true story of a 19-year-old American, his capture by the Motiloni Indians, and his adventures in Christianizing the Stone Age tribe. The Wright Brothers, Pioneers of American Aviation by Quentin Reynolds. And then Plain Girl by Virginia Sorensen, by the same person who wrote Miracles on Maple Hill, which I think we also read this year, but I already owned that one. And then for my kindergartner, the Usborne Book of Living Long Ago, Everyday Life Through the Ages. So in kindergarten, they go through different cultures, and so they go through different time periods as well. So that'll be a good resource for that. And then we have the 17th Swap. This feels brand new also. How Many Swaps Does It Take to Make a Dream Come True by Eloise McGraw. And then for my kindergartner's Bible this year, we're using Eggermeyer's Bible Storybook. I go back and forth on what I feel about Bible storybooks. So if we get a couple stories in and I don't like it, we'll just read the actual account from the Bible, but just follow their plan that they put in there. And then the second one from the series that we're doing this year is The Good News Must Go Out, the Hidden Hero series. True Stories of God at Work in the Central African Republic. These are interesting books. We read, like I said, we read one last year and it was really good. So those are all from eBay. Here are 2 that we had to buy new, but they were cheapest on Amazon of all places. Oh, we're reading a third one of these. I didn't realize it. Another Hidden Heroes book, Return of the White Book, True Stories of God at Work in Southeast Asia. And then Heartwood Hotel, A True Home. I'd never heard of this one, but it's by Callie George, and it is for my kindergartner. And then we actually got 3 books from Thrift Books this time. We usually get a lot more from Thrift Books, but Secondsale and eBay really had the good ones this year. We have Henry Reed Incorporated, pictures by Robert McCloskey. Business is booming at Henry Reed Inc., but can Grover's Corner take one more explosion? And then we have Hero Over Here, a story of World War I. And then The last one that we got from Thrift Books is a Kate DiCamillo book that I hadn't heard of. Can't remember the name of it. Franklin something. I'll put it right here. But it should be here any day now. And then this was the only one we got from Abe Books this year. Abe Books is another really good resource. It just so happened the Secondsale beat them out this year on prices. But this is Helen Keller by Margaret Davidson. And I'm excited to read this because technically on my dad's side, I am a cousin to Helen Keller. Distant cousin, but she was like my great grandma's either first or second cousin. I don't know how it all worked out, but oh, that's really cool. It has Braille on the back. I didn't even realize that. So I'm excited to get to that one. And then we got one more from eBay that should be here. It is the Usborne World Wars book. We really like using Usborne for a lot of our kind of spine for history and science. So that is all 50 books, 48 technically, but 50. Let me know down below what you're doing to prep for the new school year, or if you already started or how that's going. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.